Hello, everybody. Mackenzie here from Before the Downbeat, a musical podcast, coming at you because it is the year of Wicked, the movie musical. And boy, oh boy, was it a great weekend for that because we got our first official trailer, teaser trailer, that is, for this upcoming film. We also got the poster, which looks great. And the last big musical we kind of talked about was West Side Story, which came out during COVID, and so people liked our shot by shot trailer breakdowns that we did. And so it was felt that we should go and do this again, this time for Wicked, because why not? It's a lot of fun and there's a lot of good things in here. And there's already some good things I've noticed in the trailer itself that I think you will find helpful when you're going in to see the film. And also when you're watching the trailer, because they do mix in a bit more of part two than you might realize. And for people who don't know, Wicked is a musical all about the witches of Oz before Dorothy showed up. So you have Elphaba, who is the girl in green, and then you also have Glinda, who is also going to become Glinda the Good, and then Elphaba will become the Wicked Witch of the West, or that is how she's labeled. We also get to meet other characters from the Oz universe, such as the Wizard of Oz. We also get to see Dorothy and her friends show up in the story. And then I also have some other characters based off of Gregory Maguire's novel of Wicked, the same name. And so this was adapted for the screen and is going to be directed by John M. Chu, who we saw last time do a really great job with In the Heights, and now he's doing this. And then he's also said he's going to be doing Josephine the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat after this. So he's doing a lot of musicals, and the screenplay was written by Winnie Holtzman, who also wrote the book for the stage show. So she came back. And then we also have Stephen Schwartz, who wrote the music and the songs as well. And so he's written some new music as well. But we won't see that till part two because he's already come out and said that both of the new songs, one will be for Elphaba, one will be for Glinda, or Glinda, as she goes by later on in the show. And so those songs will show up in the second film because they split this film in half. Basically, all the first act will be part one. So we'll end the first film with Defying Gravity and that big musical riff, which we hear at the end of the trailer. That'll kind of be that, and then the blackout and into the credits. And then part two will be all the second act of the show, which deals with when Dorothy shows up in Oz and all the fallout that comes from that. And also the ramp up of the vilification of Elphaba into the Wicked Witch of the West. So we will get into that as well. And so in the film, we have Cynthia Erivo, Tony winner Cynthia Erivo, who won her Tony for The Color Purple. She is playing Elphaba. And then we have very well-known singer and people forget Broadway actress Ariana Grande, who's playing Glinda. We also have Michelle Yeoh, Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh now as Madame Morrible. Jeff Goldblum, the wonderful Jeff Goldblum as the wizard, who we will see in this trailer as well. Jonathan Bailey, who many people will know from Bridgerton, but I actually saw him in the West End when he did the gender swap version of Company. And he sang the song Not Getting Married Today because he played Jamie in that and was absolutely terrific. Then there's other Broadway actor Ethan Slater, who is playing Bach the Munchkin. And then we have several, then we have newcomer Marissa Bode as Nessa Rose, who's Elphaba's sister, who is paraplegic and is in a wheelchair during the story. And then there are some other characters who will point out who we spot in the trailer as well. But that's kind of the main core cast there. And, what do you say we get into this shot by shot breakdown of this trailer? Let's do it. Okay. All right. All right. So we open the trailer with the witch's hat. And so some people may not realize, but I think this is a moment from part two, because if we see in the opening here, we see there's smoke rising through. It looks like there's almost like a puddle of black goo on the ground as well. And so I think this is actually a part two shot of after they've melted the Wicked Witch of the West. So here we go. So we get the opening here. We'll go right at the beginning. So we open on the witch's hat, which is actually nice because if you know the original Broadway production, now when the show opens, there is a projection of the witch melting, Elphaba melting in this green projection. But in the very original version, in the early version of the Broadway show, it actually opened with a big witch's hat. on stage. And so I think this is a nice homage to the original Wicked Hat. And John M. Chu had said that he saw the original San Francisco tryout productions and he would have seen the original Witch's Hat as well. And this is a very close image to that original hat as well. So it's nice to see that particular image there. All right, so now we're going to begin with the trailer. So here we go. And we open with a voiceover from the wizard himself, Jeff Goldblum.
The best way.
So we don't even get the full line yet, but we get another great shot. So we cut from the melting scene with the witch's hat, but then we are cutting now to the Yellow Brick Road, which from set shots that we've seen, which we know will probably take place likely in Act 2 or Part 2, which is that Elphaba will terrorize some workers on the Yellow Brick Road as they are building this road. And it looks like the bricks are just regular bricks that have been painted gold, so not even real gold, which ties into the whole concept of the wizard kind of selling people on this false image. It's not a real thing. It is a false image that we have. And so that is kind of where that is there. And so, yeah, so we see Elphaba approaching kind of this workstation where we have the Yellow Brick Road. So it's kind of the facade of the wizard as we hear him talking, saying this great line of what people need is a good villain, basically. So here we go.
To bring folks.
And then the next thing we cut to is the train system here in the Land of Oz. Another set shot that we saw from when they were filming in England. Now the question, is this the train that will take Elphaba to the Emerald City? Or is this a train that's going to take her to Shiz? I think it's the train that's going to take her to the Emerald City, because we see in a later shot of the trailer of this train going to the Emerald City, as well as in the set shots we see that Nessa Rose will arrive by boat to Shiz. So with that being the case, I think Elphaba, even though we didn't see her on the boat with Nessa Rose, I think Elphaba will be arriving via boat into Shiz, and then she will be taking the train to the Emerald City. And once again, we see this motif with the wizard of gears and cogs and mechanics here. He is a builder. And we'll see that as well as in the bubble throne chair that Glinda will sit on as well. We will see that is also a very similar design to what this train is, once again, keeping it. The fact that the wizard's thumbprints are all over these machines and these inventions that he's making to kind of make himself grander and more powerful in the Land of Oz.
Together.
So then we have our first look at Shiz University, where Elphaba and Glinda, Nessa Rose, and Bach and Fiero will be studying under the tutelage of headmistress Madame Morrible, played by Oscar and Michelle Yeoh. So we see here that we see the tunnel where they all will be coming in, right over here, so that everybody's boats are coming in. I think that is actually Glinda's boat. So this would be probably done over the song Dear Old Shiz. And then we see all the students gathering on the dock there as well. And I should say, just a heads up, there may be spoilers here for people who don't know the story of Wicked, as well as people who maybe don't want this much detail done in a trailer for the film. So this is your fair heads up now. We haven't talked about much yet, but we will get into some more details and spoilers. So just heads up on that front. So then we have Glinda Upland of the Upper Uplands arriving in her boat, and we see, of course, all the boxes and trunks that she has, and then we see, looks like to be her father with the top hat. We know her parents will make an appearance in this film because we've seen that on set as well. Those set shots came out, and there is also thought that maybe Kristen Chenoweth will be cameoing as Glinda's mom in this, and then Idina Menzel dropped hints that she may be doing some voiceover computer generated work as Dr. Dillamond the goat that advises of things are going bad in the Land of Oz. So there we go. So we see her dad in the boat with her for sure, or at least a father-like figure, and then Glinda is there as well. And then, of course, we then have our first quick glimpse of Elphaba, played by Cynthia Erivo, and we've had her opening lines for the song Defying Gravity intercut with the Wizard's line as well. So we have Something Has Changed Within Me. something is not the same. It's the opening riff of Defying Gravity, which is I think it's gonna be the main song that they're gonna use in all the trailers. Just like how when Les Mis came out, they used the I Dreamed a Dream song as their kind of go-to promo song as well. And then of course we have the wizard who's basically laying out his political machinations here, which is what brings everybody together is a good villain. And so, of course, we're having that line set over the fact that we're going to be seeing Alpha become this kind of cattle prod focal point villainous character that's going to bring all of Oz together against her. And so we're seeing this here. So the voiceover that we're hearing is probably going to be one that will take place during that early scene when Alpha either meets with the wizard for the first time, he reveals what he's been doing to the residents of Oz, and then, or it could take place later on in the second film when he is laying out a bigger plan as well.
Give him a real good enemy.
Real good enemy, not good enemy. Then we cut to now Glinda's first appearance, and she has a freak out seeing Elphaba, who is green. And of course, we get our first look at her schoolmate friends. So we have Bo and Yang there on Ariana Grande's left, who's playing Vinny, who is one of her friends. And he is wearing a great set of glasses, which we'll see that once again, just the aesthetic of Oz and the way they designed the glasses are good. I wonder if we'll actually get to see maybe some of these frames become actually available. And then we also have Bronwyn James, who's playing Shen Shen, who's another one of Glinda's friends from her time at Shiz.
You're green.
And then, of course, we get our first official sound of what Ariana Grande is going to sound like as Glinda. It sounds like she's putting on a bit of a character voice. We don't quite know enough. I haven't heard her speak in a long enough sentence yet to get it all. But it sounds like it's almost doing a bit almost like a New Yorkian metropolitan style accent, which it makes sense tying in with her kind of character where she is. And even I love the fact that we're getting the Glinda pinks all over already. If you see in her costume there, with the pink lining, it's very well done. Just once again, Glinda's color is going to be pink. And that ties back, as we know, to the original Wizard of Oz film when that film had Glinda in the pink outfits, the pink ball gowns. And then it was when they did the stage show and they couldn't replicate the movie, like they couldn't replicate the movie's look. So they went with the blue bubble dress and kind of that particular look for the stage show. Now they've kind of gone back to try and harken more closer to the original Wizard of Oz film itself. And so that's why we're seeing more pinks in the Glinda outfit. But there we go. So we get to see this first line from Ariana Grande. And then, of course, we will cut back and get the first line from Cynthia Erivo.
I am.
And she has that great I am. And then she has the classic Elphaba braid. But it's interesting that they put her all in black already, because that was a big contention in the original stage show was, when does Elphaba come out in her full black witch's outfit? When does that take place? Because there was talk about when should we have her really appear to be looking like the Wicked Witch of the West. And so that's why at the end of Act 1, there's that big triumphant moment when she's got in her broom and she's got her hat on. Basically, we've seen her build her Wicked Witch outfit throughout all of Act 1. And now when we get to see her here so early in this kind of very reminiscent look of the Wicked Witch, right off the top, it's a very interesting. But I also want to give a big shout out to the costume design and the fact that those glasses and those frames are just downright incredible. I love how it's just unique enough that it looks a bit different. It's Ozian. It's not quite traditional eyeglass wear like we see that she wears in the stage show. It's a bit more unique and special there, but we are getting the idea of what they do in the stage show, which is she kind of has the bookish look going. She hasn't quite come into her own mature look yet that we'll see her in later on in this.
Something is.
So then we cut to someone riding off to the land of Oz, or off to the Emerald City. So can't quite tell who it is. I mean, even if we take it back, yeah, we can't even really see who that is on the horse. But it's somebody on a horse, and they're riding toward the Emerald City because we can see the yellow brick road in the background there.
Is not the same.
Now we get our first look at Dancing Through Life, and let's get back just a smidgen a bit. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so in the background here, there we go. So we doing the crossfade on. Anyway, so there we have Nessa Rose there, once again played by Marissa Bode, and she's in her wheelchair. And then we have Ethan Slater there behind her as Bach. as well, because Glinda set them up for this night out together. And then this is the very famous moment from the stage show where Elphaba shows up to the party, having been gifted this black hat that Glinda did not want. And so she puts it on, and this is kind of the first step into her becoming the look of the Wicked Witch that we know from the 1930 film version with Margaret Hamilton. And so the fact that we're already getting a very close look of this, and the fact that she already kind of is already giving that look, is very interesting. But I do love the ruffles, because once again, it's another homage to what we'll see with the original two dress for Elphaba, where it was all made of these ruffled fabrics. And we've already seen from the set photos that we won't quite get the same costumes. So we won't. So I think this is close to what we'll close to a homage to what that original costume was in Act 2. Of course, Cynthia Erivo looks just incredible. She looks so striking as Elphaba. It's just great. Puts on the witch's hat. You can see her already. She's getting frustrated because she's being picked on, and this has been a setup to be bullied. Like, just that look she gives everybody of, I'm going to stand by myself and stand strong in this moment, which is a great look for her. And then she's saying, like, something comes over me, something bad that happens anytime this feeling comes over, because we know she has magical abilities. And that is what draws her to Madame Morrible, who is the sorcerer teacher. And so the son that we get skipped over in this issue, we don't actually get to see them in class together. But the next shot
Something just
after
takes
this moment is we see Madame Morrible actually teaching Elphaba how to control her magic. And so this is a great kind of bit of nice scene building here between Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. Yeah, so we see right there. So there's our first look at Michelle Yeoh, and we see her in her kind of private seminar she does with Elphaba, where she's teaching her how to harness her magical abilities, which is something nobody else in Oz really has the ability to. Madame Morrible has some magical abilities that we know about, that she can control the weather in some ways, but not to the extent that Elphaba has. Elphaba has lots of magic in her. Hence why Madame Morrible is training her privately.
And when it does.
Now, this shot here is, I think, right after we've had the room assignment scene, where we have Elphaba and Glinda giving each other the look of, oh, great, we're going to be together here. And it's kind of that everybody's going to be in the rooms. And it's because it's a similar office from earlier when we saw them arrive, and Glinda makes a comment of, you're green, and Elphaba going, I'm green. That type of thing there. So we'll see that. So we'll see the follow. This is a continuation of that earlier scene. And now they've been assigned to be roommates.
Bad things.
And now we see a continuation of the training scene with her and Michelle Yeoh, because that is, you can see the white hair there, so that's clearly her talking to Michelle Yeoh about her magical abilities. And this may be before we get to The Wizard and I, because Madame Morrible said she will train her privately with magic, and Elphaba's giving her a warning of, heads up, so when magic happens, something bad happens, so just a heads up there. And that could lead into Madame Morrible's line of, never apologize for greatness. I have a talent for spotting greatness, and so that's that moment there. And then, okay, so now we get a better shot. So we get a few things here. So first things first, we get two different scenes. So once again, we have Nessa Rose and Bach behind her, but we have the scene before she puts on the witch's hat again. And there's a moment during Dancing Through Life when Elphaba was being humiliated by Glinda. And so she decides to stand out on her own and dance on her own in the middle of the dance floor to say basically, screw all of you, I'm going to be myself. And so we get this moment here, which is made look like she's casting as well, but she's not. She's dancing to defy them. But then we get this moment here of the flying monkey breaking free. But as I said, it looks as though this is post-melting, because we got this kind of melty, ooey goo around here, around the hat. So I think once again, this is a part 2 shot that they're putting in part 1 because it ties in together. So, and then we also have the great line of when she has that thrust moment out toward the camera, and we have that unlimited, and that is a tie back to the Wizard of Oz, which is somewhere over the rainbow. Is that same musical motif that Stephen Schwartz has interwoven throughout the whole score. And it's the fact we're getting that Wizard of Oz motif. Once again, they're really playing into, the story, you're seeing a flying monkey, you've seen the Wicked Witch with her hat and kind of her classic Wicked Witch look. And so this is all tying together to kind of bring all that Oz familiarity to the forefront of this story. Now, we get a separate shot here that I think will be at the end of part one, because this is the part of the Defying Gravity sequence where Elphaba is now broken free from everybody and she is flying out into the west. And it's observed by the Ozian guards as well as Glinda and Madame Morble, who isn't usually in this part of the scene in the stage show, but we'll see moments where she is part of this. And I think this is right at the end when Elphaba's broken free. And we have the look at her, she's wicked, get her, break me down. I hope you're happy, all that stuff. That'll all be coming in this moment here.
Once you learn.
And then we have Michelle Yeoh's line of once you learn to control the magic, you'll be powerful. And so we get a great first kind of close-up look at Michelle Yeoh. And I love just the costuming details with the chokers and all that type of stuff. It gives her that great kind of fashionista look about her. Once again, this great kind of Ozian, a little bit off-kilter look. It's so well done. Now we get our first look at Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero. And we can see right up there on his forehead there's a scratch. So this is likely the lion cub scene when the new professor at the school tries to teach them about how Oz has been silencing animals. And so this lion cub was being terrorized and Elphaba saves him with Fiyero. There's a moment where Fiyero gets hurt and Elphaba is showing him some comfort. And this is a kind of their first moment of connection in the story. And thus forming the love triangle that will drive Glinda, Elphaba, and Fiyero to their final fates at the end of this two-part story.
Your emotions.
Then we have a new shot, which once again, I think this is going to come in part 2, as this looks to be a shot of Glinda's wedding. And I think this could be a moment where we see the new song for Glinda show up, because this could be a key moment for her. Either it's a moment where she's imagining what her wedding is, or the moment of her wedding and she gets stood up at the altar by Fiyero. Obviously, there'll be some bigger changes in this moment as they expand out the second act, because that's really where the story does condense and move quickly to get to the end of the story. And so I think this will be one of those moments where they fill out a bit, because we do get a bit of the engagement ball scene before the song Wonderful, but we don't quite dive in. And I think this will be a key moment here. And I love the fact that, once again, Glinda's got pink flowers and almost like a light off-white pink dress on. Very well done. And then, of course, we now have the shot of Elphaba and Glinda in with the looks like to be the poppies outside the Emerald City. So this could be them arriving before the song One Short Day. Now, this here is the Wicked Witch's Castle, which is called Kiamamo-ko Castle. It's located in the Vinkus countryside, and it's part of the ancestral home of Fiyero's family because he is a prince. And this area of Oz is often mistakenly called Winky Country, even though it is not. And he's found in kind of the western quadrant of the land of Oz, hence why she's called Elphaba. It's called the Wicked Witch of the West, because this is where she takes up residence after she escapes with Defying Gravity. And then the inhabitants of this land of Oz are called the Winkies. And so we see here the flying monkeys escaping. And I think this will be after the melting, they are set free. Or once again, we'll get a moment tying in where we'll get kind of that moment of sending the flying monkeys off to get Dorothy before the March of the Witch Hunter sequence. But once again, I think this is a part 2 shot here. Now, this is neat because they actually did plant all these tulips for the filming. Not obviously the ones in the background were not, but these ones in the forefront here are actual tulips they did plant. And I think this is part of the opening sequence of the film or it's going to be the opening of part 2, because we can see here like the marshland, Munchkinland area village that we saw them shooting at earlier last year, where we got our first kind of bootleg listen to Ariana Grande as Glinda. And so we have these kids running. So it's either going to be the good news she's dead, the good news she's dead, or it's going to be part of that opening sequence with the opening song of Act 2, which is thank goodness, because we know those songs will take place in the same area, around the same type of sets. So that's those shows. But I got a feeling this will be the opening of the film itself, because it looks very joyful, sunny, happy. We're celebrating the death of the Wicked Witch. Now this is the second shot here with the train. So this is why I think that earlier shot of Elphaba getting ready to board the train, I think this is the train that will take her to the Emerald City, because also in the stage show, she boards a train to get to the Emerald City. So I think this will be this kind of monorail train that can get them around Oz. And we can see the Emerald City right there as well. And now this is going to take place after this one short day scene. Or no, sorry, actually, I take that back. This is them getting off the train. So actually, the Poppy scene, I don't know when that's going to take place. Because that earlier scene of Elphaba and Glinda with the poppies, I don't know. That could be maybe after. Yeah, hold on. Let's go back a minute. Let's take a look. There. So that there, different outfits. Okay. So that must be before they leave to go to the Emerald City. Because that's not the same outfits that they have later on here. Because then we're up to this moment here. So that's them getting off the train, arriving in the Emerald City, because we can see the train wheels in the background there. So this is them getting off the station, probably entering into the city right before we get to One Short Day. And they see the world of the wizard. And obviously this is going to be part of that similar sequence. We know this is one of the last things they shot because John M. Chu said before production got shut down because of the actor and writer strikes that they had about 10 days left, and part of that 10 days was shooting a lot of the One Short Day sequence. So this we're probably just getting slight hints of the Emerald City. I do like that over here, you can see what looks to be almost like a little icon for a hot air balloon. So that can probably tie into when they go and see Wizamania, which does have the whole concept of the wizard arriving by balloon. But this is all part of this wonderful Emerald City set. Now, here we go. So this is going to be a big change to the show, is that we have the silver slippers. So if, for people who don't know, even though it's been talked a lot about online now because people have been asking where the ruby slippers, well, in the original book, they are silver slippers. And it was only in the 1930 film when they were going up doing a film in Technicolor for the first time. They really wanted those shoes to pop on screen, so that's why they made them the ruby slippers. But MGM owns the rights to the ruby slippers, so anybody who wants to use the ruby slipper look would have to pay MGM the money to do that. And so what it appears to be is that the Wicked films, because they don't want to pay those rights, are sticking with the silver shoes, because we know Dorothy doesn't get her shoes until after the house falls on the Wicked Witch of the East. And I will not spoil who that is in this. But basically, the house does fall and kills the Wicked Witch of the East, and Dorothy gets the shoes. And looks like they are remaining in their silver, like almost diamond look. And we will not be getting the classic ruby slippers, which once again will change a major plot point in part 2. So, which I will not spoil now. But we're getting our first look at the wizard's throne room here. And also the fact that these are, I guarantee these Dorothy shots are all part of part 2, because there's no way we'll get Dorothy in part 1. It wouldn't make any sense for them to have her in part 1. Unless they're doing some type of flashback during the opening Glinda monologue where she's explaining to the Munchkins what's happened. But I think this will definitely be a part 2 shot. And we now get to the reveal of the fact that slippers will not be ruby, they will be the silver as in the book.
Brim.
And so we got our first, I'll take it back just a minute here. There's our first look at Jeff Goldblum as the wizard, and he is directing Dorothy and her friends to go and hunt down Elphaba and bring her to him.
Brim.
And then we get the bigger version of the Oz head. This is very close to what the original stage show Oz head was, just a much more scaled down version, but obviously it's a movie, they can make it bigger, they can make it look a bit more grand, but as you can see, the wizard has pulled together cogs and ropes and pulleys to make himself look like the great and powerful Oz, the man behind the curtain. So there we go. So we get the shot of the lion, the scarecrow, the Tin Man, Dorothy, and Toto's in there somewhere as well. We can see he's kind of hiding all his cogs and mechanisms behind curtains and pulleys and stuff like that. So that is how the wizard will look in this, but it's very close to what the stage show Oz head looks like. And then, of course, we get the peek behind the curtain, and we see Jeff Goldblum in his full glory as the wizard. there. And so we see him in his outfit there with all his cogs and wheels that he's using to manipulate his mechanics of Oz. Now we get the Defying Gravity sequence here. And so we have this moment right here where Elphaba gets her broom because she casts the spell and thinks she's going to sprout wings. She gave the flying monkeys. Instead, no, she gets a broom to levitate. And so this is her broom. So this is the part of the Defying Gravity sequence. Up in kind of this attic-y tower of the Ozian throne palace for the wizard. She grabs the broom. And I got a feeling we're going to get more details about this ring. She's wearing this ring on her pinky finger. And that may be a part of her mother's story, a backstory from her mother that we will get. And of course, we're getting another shot of. See, and that ring is predominantly on her finger. So I guarantee we'll get some backstory about why that ring is there. But we get a much kind of more knobbly, branch-like broom that she's going to ride. Okay, so this sequence is part of the escape during Defying Gravity. So here we see her in her full outfit now. She's got the hat, she's got the cape, she's got the black dress, she's got the broom. Very iconic Wicked Witch of the West outfit. But if we go back just a smidgen, we can see that she makes her escape and leaps from the platform here where the soldiers are surrounding her and Glinda. And also Madame Morrible, who will join in this grouping, as we saw all the way back earlier in the trailer. So we see Elphaba making her escape. She's leaping onto the broom. She's going to fly out of there. Now, this is a neat shot here. I think this is going to also be part of part 2, because if we go back just a smidgen before those light bulbs explode. Oh, come on. Give it. There we go. So she leaps, and then we get there. Okay, so this is a neat shot. This is a shot that's such a neat little set shot. Basically, this is part of the wizard's printing press area because we could see flyers saying run, and we see Elphaba on these flyers. And then, of course, we have maps of Oz where obviously they're hunting her down. And then we've got these great light bulbs. And I think this will be part of the moment when Elphaba returns to the wizard in part 2, and she kind of destroys the palace and sets the monkeys free. So we see her blowing things up in here. We see pamphlets flying everywhere. This will all be part of that whole bigger sequence there. We see them explode. Then we cut to this great shot of Michelle Yeoh with the flying monkeys. We see the flying monkeys having weapons. And so this is when Madame Morrible has risen from being the headmistress of Shiz to now she's taken on being the press secretary, personal assistant to the wizard as part of her deal for getting him Elphaba. And so we see her now in full control. So this is probably her leaving the wizard after Elphaba's made her escape. And Madame Morrible has the line about, don't worry, your Ozness, I will take care of it. I'll spread the word, basically. And this is where she has that great monologue about believe nothing she says. Look at what she did to these poor innocent monkeys. And she is this distortion, this repulsion, this wicked witch. So I think this is her going off to say that speech, and she's going to show the monkeys here. So, and I love that kind of green look that Michelle Yeoh has. That's a gorgeous costume that she's wearing. So we see her walking away with the flying monkeys in the background. And then looks like we have a shot of Popular because we have Glinda in this very pink outfit. She's spinning around, and it looks like evening kind of bathrobe look, and looks like she has kind of this closet she's in. It looks to be the set in song for Popular. So I think that's where we are seeing in this moment here with her. And of course, we have more explosions here. So I think once again, this is all part of when Elphaba has come back to the wizard in part 2, and she's blowing things up and kind of destroying his printing presses and wreaking havoc on his palace as she releases the flying monkeys. Or this could also be a moment when Elphaba uses her magic for the first time with the Grimir, and she's cast her spell, and that's what causes things to explode and happen in the palace. But I think this will be a part 2 scene where she's come back. So we get this lens flare explosion with the wizard. And then we get this moment where Glinda and Elphaba are locked in the attic after they've escaped from the wizard. And this is this is literally the moments before Defying Gravity. We've had Madame Marvel's big speech about don't believe this girl. She's wicked. She's a wicked witch. Her green skin is an outward manifestation. And so we see behind me, they're wearing the same outfits that they were wearing earlier. So I think this is all part of that larger One Short Day into Sentimental Man, into Defying Gravity. And so this is them before Defying Gravity, and they're up in the attic together. And we have that great line of Glinda saying, "Don't be afraid." And Elpha comes back, "I'm not afraid. It's the wizard who should be afraid." So we have this line here from Glinda.
Be afraid.
Now we have this shot here of the monkeys. So either this moment is going to be a moment when the monkeys are being released by Madame Morble to go be spies, but I think what is likely going to happen here is this is a part 2 scene when Elphaba releases the monkeys from their captivity in the palace, and and obviously they will be wreaking havoc on Oz as they escape, because you can see them all flying away here. So I think this will be a part 2 sequence, not a part 1 sequence. But the other choice is that it is part 1, and that when Madame Morble releases them on the people to show what the Elphaba has done to them as part of the propaganda that she is going to be doing. So then we have, the monkeys flying. Then we have our first look at the Bubble Throne chariot that Glinda rides, which is very similar to what she is illustrated in the book. And then we also get our first look at Glinda's bubble dress. And so in the stage show, it's this blue gown. And obviously for the film, they're going back to what the 1930s film dress looked like a bit more. But there is great bubble under design here on the dress. That's when we can see the throne is designed for her to sit in, but it's going to be, once again, the wizard's mechanics to make it look like she flies via bubble. Of course, you can create that type of imagery. So I think this is her getting back, and this is a part 2 shot as well. This is Glinda getting back from her for good sequence, and Elphaba's melting, and she's returning to the palace after those moments. She's lost everything basically, and she's returning to the wizard and Madame Morble after the events at the castle.
I'm not afraid.
And then of course we have them holding hands. And I think this is a moment when they're going to go in and see the wizard. So this is right before they go in. Hands.
It's the wizard who should be.
And of course, we have this great moment here. Cynthia Erivo saying it's the wizard who should be afraid. So once again, this is in the attic. That's that second part of that Glinda line scene. And then, of course,
Wizard who should be afraid of.
Breaks through this. Basically, she breaks through the glass ceiling to escape. And of course, we've seen her leap from the one balcony over, and then she's going to break out of the window. And then fly into the sky, and we get that great Elphaba riff at the end, and Cynthia Erivo just kills it. And of course, then we get the logo. Coming Thanksgiving in the US and in November for everybody else. And the film's not really rated, but very exciting. And that is the teaser trailer for Wicked. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of things. I do think there's quite a bit of part 2 that they're peppering in there to fill out some of the Aussie references, because people obviously understand who Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man all are. So we got to kind of pepper them in a bit to kind of fill out our understanding of what is this story, what is the world of this piece. And so that's kind of where that is. And so, that's it. We're great. We're grand. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We have our reveal coming this Friday, where we are going to be showing what Scott and I will be discussing together for his first episode. It's a hint is that the musical has starred both Barbara Cook and Kristen Chenoweth in the past. And it's all glitter and be gay for that musical. So there's your hint for you, everybody. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We can't wait to have you back for more as we get more details and more footage from the film for Wicked, the long-awaited movie musical. Thanks so much. I'm Mackenzie. Follow me at Mackenzie Horner on all social media platforms. Follow my other theater antics over at Cup of Hemlock Theater. And then you can also check out our podcast feeds as well, where you get all our episodes too. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.